Okay, just bear with me on this one because this is a little bit of a long one. But I've posted two other stitches because I've got a lot of ghost stories, but this one's up here because I also didn't experience it by myself. I was with a group of friends. So I'm going to be talking about a place called Crawford Road in Virginia. And this place was notorious among the teenagers. We're going back to I'm about I'm about 17 years old, and rumors spread about this place. Like, oh, this is one of the spots to go to if you want to get spooked out, and it's one of the haunted places in the area. So, you know, think back 2016 summertime, okay? Me and my friends, we go out and we're like, you know what? Let's go head up this place. Let's go see if it's actually creepy. So it took us a while to get there, and this road has no streetlights. It is one of those roads where you need your brights on because, yeah, you can't see anything. It's just pitch dark. And there's woods on either side. And this bridge is on this road, and you drive under the bridge, and that is the spot that everyone talks about is this bridge. So we get there, and we're already creeped out. One, because it's just completely dark. There's no lights, there's no nothing. And if you were to continue down that road, it would lead into a neighborhood, but it was still dark, still no street lights till a certain point. And so we get out of the car, and our dumb selves decide, you know what, let's go on top of this creepy bridge. And so on the top of this bridge is an old road that's no longer being used by the public. So we decided to just go walking on it because, why not? And there's this sign up there that had pew pew holes in it. And we were just like, oh, that's so stupid. Someone came out here and, shot up the sign. And we were like, let's just continue walking in the dark by the woods. So we're walking around for probably 5 to 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden, the woods, they go completely silent. You know how during the summertime the woods are just alive with sound, crickets, birds, frogs. It's just really noisy, cicadas. Like, there's just so much going on. Well, it was one of those times where we're all just talking, and then one by one we stopped talking because the woods got quiet. And my friend goes, why did it get so quiet? And we're all standing there, and then we hear to the left of us footsteps in the woods. Just feet away, we hear footsteps. So we start booking it the other way. All of us start running because we have absolutely no clue why the woods got so silent. Usually that is just not a good thing. So we ran all the way back to the top of the bridge, and we got back to the top of the bridge. Didn't seem like anything was following us. But then when we got to the car, we walked back down to get in the car because we're all spooked. And then we hear crying. Someone was, or something was crying, and it sounded like the weeping crying. When you have like your hands over your face, like it was muffled crying. And we're all sitting there for a second. All of us are hearing this. It's not just me. And listen, I've seen enough horror movies, okay? I'm not going to be the stupid one. And neither were any of my other friends. We're like, yep, time to go. Let's get out of here. Let's go and get in the car. So we all pile in, and we start driving away from the bridge back home. And as we start to drive down this road, there's this truck that comes up behind us. And he's got his brights on, and he's tailgating us. And he is, like inches away from the vehicle we're in. And all of us are we're getting pissed off. We're like, oh my gosh, this guy's such a jerk. We tried to move over, and then he just moved over with us. Like, we were trying to let him around, and or her, we don't really know. And no, just being a total jerk. And then we reached the end of the road to where this the stop sign is, and then the lights behind us go off, and we're like, oh, finally, this guy turned his brights off. And then we turn around. I'm not driving, but me and my friends turn around, and there's no truck. There's nothing. No truck, no lights, nothing. And this is a road that is forest on either side, okay? And it's one way this way, one way that way. There's nowhere this truck would have gone. So we're all freaking out at this point, because we're like, we heard footsteps in the woods, we heard crying, and then a truck was basically chasing us, and now it's just disappeared. So now we're really, we're freaking out. Like, I mean, as one should. I feel like this would be a normal reaction. But then, of course, we all end up getting home safe. The truck never reappeared. But this is where it gets crazy. We ended up doing a little bit of research when we got back home, because we were like, what the heck? What the heck did we just experience? Not only are we not the only ones that experienced a ghost truck, we also weren't the only ones who have heard crying. And the supposed crying is coming from something that had happened a long time ago, where there was a slave woman and her child was thrown off of this bridge intentionally by her owners. And then we found out that the crying is most likely like her, that's what they suppose. And then someone had jumped off of this bridge before. And then we found out something happened the day, or I should say the night, before we were actually there. We found out on the news the next day that someone had gotten murked with a pew-pew literally the night before we had gone there. Those bullet holes that we saw on the sign, that's what it was from. And to this day, we never went back there.
There's a lot to unpack with that. There's a lot I want to say. Just a lot. First of all, I do not encourage anybody to just go to haunted places, supposedly haunted places, or go venturing out to old places. However, if you do decide, oh, this is something I want to do for fun, or a hobby, or you want to be Sam and Kobe, do your research. Because you know what? They do their research before they go places. You told me you just gonna go in there, go out to this bridge and not know what to expect. Just gonna go out there blindly. Just blindly go in there. And then after the fact, after stuff happens to us, we're gonna do some research on the place? Heck no. That don't make no sense, friend. That don't make no sense. And second of all, why the bridge still there? If it was that old, from a slave baby was thrown off of the bridge should have been broke down, tore down. Why the bridge still there? It should not be there. Y'all could tear a bridge down and put it somewhere else, put it 5 feet further up or something. Like, it could be anywhere else. It got history behind it. Like, when anything comes to slaves, it's just like, tear the whole thing down. Just tear it down and move away. Because they did some things to slaves and they have vendettas. And they, like, leave this site alone. Leave it alone. It has history and it can be haunted. So that's wild to me. Third of all, why the freak did y'all get out the car? Why'd y'all get out the car? And I'm sure y'all didn't have no flashlights except the lights on your phone, but I don't know if y'all ever see any paranormal stuff or movies or anything. They could freak with your phone. They could just cut your phone off. They can turn off cameras and stuff. They did that to my phone when I went to a haunted place. Recorded all this footage. Had plenty of footage. And it just disappeared. Just vanished after I walked out. It was like, oh, We'll take that. We'll take that footage. You have no proof. So yeah, friend, I don't understand why y'all got out the car. Cause y'all was just brave as I ain't get out of the car. You know what you got to do now, Brad? Like, what? You already know the stories. I'm not getting out this car. That's cute. I might go with you, but we standing here. We standing here where it's safe. And we already know when it gets quiet in the country because it's really loud. I think I've been to Crawford Street before, Crawford Road. I think I've been there before, but in the daytime. In the daytime, never at night. And I've never heard no stories because I don't be in Virginia like that. That freaking, Golden Corral in Martinsville, Virginia? Bruh, we'll drive to go there. When it comes to food, we'll go hours. We'll go miles. We went to Georgia one time. We drove all the way to Atlanta, Georgia to get some wings one time. Like, it's that serious. Food is serious. So yeah, friend. No, I'm not getting out the car. You hear footsteps? Y'all did the right thing. Y'all ran. You shouldn't have been out there, but you ran. Y'all ran all together. Y'all ain't lead up by. Y'all had some good friends. Y'all always on one accord. It was like, let's go. Let's book it. And get in the car. Y'all heard crying. Nope. That's not cool. That's not cool. And the truck that was behind you, like, we didn't see that truck before. Like, where'd that truck come from? Like, you said it was a neighborhood at the end of the street. Most truckers that live in neighborhoods that come home after their route don't have the whole trailer attached. I live beside a trucker. When he comes on, he just has the first part. He don't have the whole trailer attached. One of my friends, a trucker. When she comes home, she does not have the whole trailer attached. That trailer is somewhere else when she comes home, especially in a neighborhood, because most neighborhoods do not allow the whole trailer. A few of them do, but a lot of them do not allow that. They'll take your truck. They'll be like, okay, that's cool, but the trailer truck. So where did that truck come from, honey? Because we know it didn't come from the neighborhood. You told me that you didn't hear this truck roll up on you? Nope. That was suspicious. It was all on your booty? Oh, nope. In your back seat? Oh, no. That's wild, friend. I think I would have sped the freak up. I don't know. You just like, you didn't do no research to see. I don't understand. How did you not see? How'd you miss the news about a crime scene that just happened? How was you even able to access the bridge if a crime just happened the night before? Like, somebody not doing their job, because that should not have been accessed. I don't know, it might not have been another way to get to the neighborhood, but still there should have been some cops out there. Like, there should have been something there if there was just a crime that just happened. There's just so much going on with that story. It's just crazy. There's a bridge here a few cities down that's kind of like that. The saying is, on Halloween night, if you get in the car and you ride by the bridge, there's going to be a woman that's going to be hitchhiking, and she'll ask you to pick her up. Maybe. I don't know if she asked. It's been so long since I heard the myth or the story or whatever. She'll get in your car and you'll drive. And once you get over the bridge, past the bridge, you'll look in your rearview mirror and she won't be there no more. It's like she takes a ride to the bridge, because apparently that's probably where she got killed. That's how it happened that night. She got in the car and somebody killed her son. I can't remember how the story goes, but I thought about doing that. I thought about it once, and then I thought myself out of it, because what? Like, who is that? Who this lady? I ain't did no research. I need some history behind it. I want to be a part of the history. Like, making new history, because I done picked up this lady and now she with me forever. She always in my back seat. Like, no, that's not it, boo. That's not it, friend. Let's not go to haunted bridges. Let's not do that. Or if we're going to go to haunted places, do our research. How about that? Yeah. Good idea, right? Yeah.
I'd like to preface by saying I don't want to believe in an afterlife, so I find it very difficult to believe in ghosts. I am open to all theories, and one of them being that we were all insane. But the more time that passes, the more unsure I am about that. I see mimic stories, and it reminds me a lot of what my family experienced for about 5 years, living in a house out in the boonies. And I'm not really sure how to start this, but this is the thing that I believe lived with us. My brother drew this after he saw something. And that timestamp is from 2020, the night he sent it to me, and the night he, who's very unemotional, called me crying because he didn't think my parents would believe him, and they don't. But I'll tell you, every time I see that, I get a pit in my stomach, and I think that is what lived with us. So I'll tell the story, and we'll see how it goes. So, when I was a teenager, we moved into a house that was on the very edge of this big farmland property that had been split into different housing. We had about 1.25 acres of land, just a big grass field, the house in the center, and we were positioned on these dirt crossroads. And the house was jarringly large for the cost. And it was relatively newly built. There was only one family that had lived there before us. And there was so much activity, I don't know how to fit it into this time, so maybe I can make a part 2 if anyone's interested. But my mom had just had a baby. That's what prompted the move. And my brother, who is 2 years younger than me, we were the only kids living there, essentially. And the first day that we moved in, house was completely empty. There was no Wi-Fi or anything. My brother and I were unpacking boxes, and my parents were outside. And he and I heard laughter just echo through the house, and it sounded almost like horror movie stock laughter, like a little girl giggling, and these footsteps upstairs. And at the time, it freaked us out, but my parents wrote us off. They were very skeptical. So we went on. Summer break had just started. Again, we had a new baby. My mother was a teacher, so she had summers off, and the three of us, my brother and my mother and I, were downstairs watching a movie, broad daylight, and we hear this thump upstairs and footsteps. So we pause the movie and we go upstairs, and upstairs there was this really horrible, ugly, dark blue carpet, just the whole expanse. We go into the nursery, and my baby brother was 7 months old. He couldn't walk. He's asleep in his crib by the door, and we immediately noticed that this crawl space thing, you know, those push-up things that you slide over, which can't be suctioned up by the AC. It has to be pushed and slid. It's open a crack, like this big. And there's the shit on the carpet, this stuff on the carpet, and we realize it's like drywall powder, and it's underneath the crawl space, and there's a trail of it to the crib. And that crawl space, you know, it was just insulation. There wasn't an attic or anything, and in Arizona there really isn't, you know, wildlife that lives there. So my stepdad comes home and he checks it out. There's nothing up there. A few days later, the same thing happens. A few days later, the same thing happens, and it goes on for about 2 months, all while other activity is happening. Then it stops. And skipping forward a few years, 2 years later, my mother had another baby, my baby sister. Sleeps in the crib, the same crib my brother slept in. And around the same time, they were born a month apart, same thing starts happening. Right in the middle of the day, crawl space is open, and there's dust trailing to the crib. As far as that thing I showed you, there were a lot of instances. I feel like if there was something in that house, there were multiple things. My brother and I slept at the very end of this very long, dark hallway. Sunlight never came to that side of the house, and it just had an eerie feeling. You know, people would come over and comment on it, you know, friends of mine. And in solidarity, because we were so scared, my brother and I slept with our bedroom doors open and a nightlight in the hallway. And very shortly after moving in, I was sleeping in bed, and I had the blanket pulled up in horror movie fashion, and it starts slipping, so I pull it, and it starts slipping again, and I pull it, and it starts slipping again, and when I pull it, there is tension, like somebody grabbed the end of it and then let go. And a few nights later, it could have been sleep paralysis. I've never experienced that otherwise, but I was not quite yet asleep. I was falling asleep. And I hear the shuffling on the carpet. And I look down this long bedroom. My bedroom is very thin and long. And I see this woman crawling across the floor. And I didn't see her face, but I remember she had this like long, stringy hair. This black hair but it looked like she was going bald, like she had patches. And she's just crawling on all fours and disappears down by my bed. And I don't know how I fell asleep. It might have been a very vivid dream, but I was just frozen there. And again, all sorts of things happened. We're pretty sure the land itself, there was something wrong with it. But my brother and I would hear whispers in the night after everyone had gone to sleep, this woman's voice calling from the stairs. And a few times it said my name, which is 3 syllables long. So it's very difficult to mistake for, another kind of noise. Another time, my brother and I were home alone, and most things happened when he and I were alone. We heard this wailing from my mother's bedroom in the dark. It started kind of like humming, and then it turned into full, like, banshee wailing through the house. And we ran out, thought about calling the police, but my parents came home and there was nothing there, so we just let it go. And then again, fast forwarding a few years, I had moved out, and apparently the activity had calmed down. My brother was older by then, and again, my parents had moved out, so he was staying in the house. His high school was just a block away. It was half a mile, so he had to walk. And he had a friend staying with him. And one night, a bunch of things start happening. So they decide to leave, and suppose they're pulling out of this long dirt driveway, and it has a full view of the house. There's chain link fence all around, and he sees something in the window, apparently very clearly. There's a lamp in a downstairs room, and there's a woman standing at the window staring at him. He says he couldn't take his eyes off her, and he felt like she was telling him that if he came back, she would get him, or something like that. But he called me immediately. I was out with friends, and we aren't super close, so it was very strange of him to call me, but he was crying on the phone. And then he drew that picture, and I felt so sick. I don't know what it is about it, but it just felt very alive and real, and like it was the thing that was there. And again, other things happened, so I can make a part 2, I guess. But yeah, might have been mold poisoning, I don't know. That's it.
We're just gonna throw that in there. Can't weigh out the possibilities, It could have been that. We could have been delusional. We could have had lead poisoning. You never know. Honey, that was a lot. Oh, these haunted houses. But how? I don't know. She said it could have been land. And that's why I was saying about the bridge. We were just talking about the bridge. You was like, okay, it could be just the land. It's not like we're going to build another bridge after we tear it down in the exact same spot. No, I think it might be the land. So yeah, that was it could have been the land, because honey, the house was just built. It was fairly new. Y'all was the second family. That's weird, No, because you felt something pulling on your blanket, honey. At that point, the blankets will always be tucked. Always be tucked, so nothing can pull off nothing. You wildin' out. That picture that your brother drew, yeah. You feel something in the pit of your stomach because you seen that lady before. That's what that was. You just like, oh, she looked very familiar. See, we got to do some history research. We got to do research on places. We can't just be buying places blindly. Like, no, let's do a little bit of research. I'm talking to myself right now, and I'm probably talking to one of y'all out there. Probably, but I'm talking to myself. I need to do some research because I don't need any of this happening. This is not happening to me. If I buy something, it's because some people are just like, well, I bought it. So, and like that other person said, like that dad said, if you ain't paying rent, you can't live here. My thing is, if I buy something and it got history behind it like that, and it's trying to haunt, oh no, we ain't got time. We about to fight, honey. Like, you got to get up out of here in the name of Jesus, honey. Like, or like those people, I know a lot of people, you see a lot of people nowadays who have haunted places and haunted houses that open them up to the public and have it like a tourist spot. So that would be an idea. But friend, yeah, I'm glad you got up out of there. I hope your brother didn't go back. The fact that your parents moved out and left your brother there and he was high school age, I guess. I don't know. No, that would not happen over here. My mom would never. And it's just me and my friend living there. Nah, not like she doesn't trust me. It's just a safety thing. Like, I'm telling you, the place is haunted. I wouldn't even be there, honey. I couldn't. Like, no. The fact that your parents, y'all all heard you, your mama, and your brother, all heard that thump, saw the crawl space open, saw the dust, and was just like, we just gonna keep this baby here. In fact, we're gonna have another baby and keep it in this crib as well, in the same spot. No, I would have moved my baby. My baby would never be alone, ever. Because it's just like, what's trying to get your baby? Clearly, something's trying to see your baby or get your baby. Like, that's not smart. Like, what are we? Okay, y'all braver than me. Y'all just have more faith than me about, like, it's not gonna bother you. I mean, it's not gonna bother me because I have faith in God. But that situation with them, it was just like, we ain't gonna fix the situation or anything. We ain't gonna nothing. Okay, alrighty then. Okay.
This hits so hard. Sometimes I feel like my whole life is a story that sounds completely unbelievable, but it's also entirely true. However, I have a great one for this. I'm going to preface my ghost story by saying that I grew up in a cult called the Children of God. It's a fairly famous cult. Lots of people have done documentaries about it. It started in the 70s in California, and it was just awful. My parents were some of the leaders of this cult, which is truly a story for another time. However, because of that, I was born in the Philippines, I grew up in Japan and Europe and Africa, and I've seen some pretty wild things. However, there's one thing that stayed with me forever. And that is when I was about 13 years old, I think I just turned 13, my parents moved to a huge manor house in England. The cult had taken up residence. There was about 120 people living there, which can, kind of give you an idea of the scope of the place. It had a big pond/lake on the property, but it was huge. It was like a forest and just endless grounds, it seemed, especially to me as a child. There was also a caretaker who seemed ancient to me, but was probably only like 50 years old at the time that this all happened. And he had told us not to go to the pond lake thing, but I guess we ignored him, and I don't know if he ever really told us the reason. However, because of the madness that was my life and how I grew up, I had a lot of nightmares. In fact, real lucid nightmares, kind of lucid dreaming, where when I was a child, I could hardly distinguish reality from nightmare, to be honest. And by the time we got to this house, my nightmares were really bad. I would hear a woman screaming all the time in my dreams. I would sometimes see a woman in my dreams walking through the halls holding a candle. She would have wet hair and she would be screaming. Sometimes I was the woman screaming. Sometimes she was walking beside me. It was very terrifying. It would even happen to me when I was awake sometimes. And of course, I told everybody, but no one believed me. The general consensus was that I had a demon and I needed desperate prayer, which was, of course, super helpful. Anyway, about 2 months after living in this place, my girlfriend and I were down in the basement getting wood because the whole house was heated by fireplaces. So we had to chop wood and we were bringing the wood up. And I think we were just hiding down there. I don't know. We had stayed a little longer than we should have. And as we were down there, it was a terrifying basement, and lots of old paintings, and there was a 700-year-old staircase down there. It was just crazy stuff. Anyway, we're talking, and just out of the blue, out of nowhere, the basement just starts filling up with water. Freezing cold water to about mid-calf. and we start to be able to see our breath. Also, I can hear that same screaming that's coming from my dreams. In fact, it was so vivid and clear that I thought, oh, I must be dreaming. That's why the basement is filling with water. Like, I'm lucid dreaming. That's what's happening. Like, this isn't real. But then I looked over at my girlfriend, and she also heard the screams, which made us both start screaming, and we both just ran out of there and got out of there because it was so terrifying. Oh, also, I could like taste the water in my mouth. It tasted like mold and bog water and like old biscuits. And I remember talking to her too, and she could taste it as well. Anyway, we ran and we got out of there, and it speaks to the horror of our lives that we just kind of forgot about that whole incident and carried on living to the best of our ability. Anyway, a couple months later, or maybe half a year later, we were all down by the pond lake thing that we weren't supposed to go by, and we were skipping rocks and stuff, and I remember looking into the water, and first there was nothing, and then I started to see a woman underneath the water, and she had her eyes closed. She was clearly deceased. Her face was quite swollen and white, waterlogged. She was folding her hands across her chest, and as I stared at her, she opened her eyes and looked directly at me. And of course, because it was terrifying, I opened my mouth to scream, and something grabbed the front of my shirt and actually pulled me into the water. And I was flailing, and the water was filling my mouth and nose, and it tasted, of course, like the basement water. And I'm not sure who I was with. I think I was there with some of my younger brothers. I have 9 brothers and sisters, so it could have been anyone. And my friend who was down in the basement with me, she was there as well. They grabbed me. They managed to pull me out of the water. I coughed and I spluttered. And, no one believed me. I told everyone what happened, and no one believed me except for my friend who was, had already experienced the random basement flooding. Anyway, I carried on living my life. We moved away from the house. We moved all over. And yeah, about 15 years later, I've escaped from the cult at this point. I'm living my own life, and I'm working with a different charity. And I somehow find myself back at this manor with this charity that's using this manor house for something completely different now. And the caretaker, who was on the grounds when I was a little girl, is still there. And he's like, oh, hi, I remember you. And I was like, oh, I remember you too. Like, I used to live here when I was a little girl. And he says, I know you were one of the haunted. And I thought, what? That wasn't a dream? Like, I guess I had put it in the dream drawer of my mind or something and just thought that was too crazy to be real. But he told me, actually, his grandfather and his grandfather's grandfather, and they had been caretakers on this property for hundreds of years. And in his grandfather's lifetime, the last royal woman who owned that manor, her husband had died in a war, and she received the missive informing her of his death at night, where after she read it, she had a psychotic break and ended up wandering through the house in her nightgown, screaming and crying and wailing until she finally went and unalived herself in the pond lake thing. And he told me, I've always thought about you over the years. My grandfather told me she chooses different women to haunt, and I saw that you were haunted, and I wonder if you're okay. And I thought, oh my God, this is like a movie. Like, this is the craziest thing ever. And I thought, I'm medium okay, but oh, I can't believe you believe me. I said, no one's ever believed me. And he's like, oh, I believe you. That's it. That's my story.
Girl, what? She chose you to haunt? It was something about you. And I always wonder about that. It's usually what they say is because you're innocent. And that's usually the case. Now, let's just talk about this for a second. Because I usually don't talk about age like that. But let's talk about it. She is aging gracefully. I don't know how old she is, but her face is giving like 21, 22, 23, early 20s. Her voice is giving older lady. Like, she's a little bit older. Like, she's older than us. And then in the story is giving that, yeah, she's older than us. So, honey, her skin is popping. Like, whatever she doing, she need to share. Go follow her on TikTok. See if she got some skincare remedies, some routines, because honey, she look young. Just judging by the story, because she said that the carekeeper's grandfather was working for the lady whose husband was in the war. So when was the last war? What was that, World War II? So we already know, with that story, and then like that code, honey, you are, yes, honey, snatched to the gods, honey. You got snatched by that woman. Oh, is that why you looking good? Because she snatched you, girl. She snatched you. But on all seriousness, business. I would have been scared. It's great. And the fact, let's not forget that she used girlfriend and not meaning girlfriend. That lets you know her age too. So the fact that she went through that with her not girlfriend, with her girlfriend, girl that's a friend, lets you know that, hey, yeah, like, because it's sometimes some experiences like that, unbelievable experiences, you have to go through it with somebody so you can just do check-ins. Like, did that really happen? Yeah, that really happened. I remember that. They was so scared, they forgot it. They just pushed it out of your mind. I've had moments like that where I would just push it out of my mind. There's one moment that happened to me that I just do not remember. It was scary. I experienced it with somebody, but I have never thought about it again. It's not there anymore. I pushed it out. So I understand that. That almost drowning. I'm glad y'all got out, because that's kind of, not even kind of, that is scary. And she was just basically talking to you, telling you what happened, because she tried to drown you in the basement, and then try to drown you in the lake. Like, friend, we don't have to share tragedies. We don't have to do that, ghost, ma'am. You have your thing, and I live over here in my thing. You know, that's wild. The fact that the caregiver, what? The fact that he knew about this and didn't say nothing, like he just heard through the grapevine that you was the haunted one, and wasn't like, oh, let me talk to, well, she could have been at a young age and not understand. I don't know. I feel like I would have wanted to know. I would have wanted to know, like, oh, this happens often? Oh, okay. So, you know, you can prepare yourself if there's a way to prepare yourself or whatever, or communicate. I don't know what you would do in that situation, but that was scary, friend. And I'm sad nobody believed you. At least you had one person, and then after the fact you had another person. I feel like if I came back after all those years and he told me that was real, I would exit stage left. I would leave that place immediately, because you already said it's real. So we're not going to go through this again. Nah, I'm good. No, thank you. Subscribe.